that's bad.
That's so not true. That is so not true.
Wait, I have witnesses.
Oh, really? You do? What do you think you are, the president?
I have witnesses. I have Dick. Is anyone going to challenge Dick?
I'm going to go back and erase the records.
All right.
Audio.
So
You're done.
can we begin?
Yep.
All right. So it is 7:02. I'm going to call this meeting to order. So as a preliminary matter, this is Harry Kubetz, Chair of the Lunenburg Public Library Board of Trustees. I will do a roll call to confirm all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. So we're going to go in alphabetical order. Laura Bussum.
Here.
Bob Conroy.
Here.
Richard Mayo.
Affirmative.
Kathleen McCarran.
Here.
Donna Saya.
Here.
Maya Winthrop.
Here.
Muir Heyman.
In the affirmative.
Harry Kubetz. And we know that Michael Ray is not on this meeting because he is having vaccine issues, response to vaccine issues. So good evening. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel, and this meeting of the Lunenburg Public Library Board of Trustees is being conducted remotely. The town of Lunenburg, in response to COVID-19, is currently following the guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Mass Department of Public Health, and CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread, and town facilities are currently being operated under restrictions. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. The order, which you will find posted on the town website on the COVID-19 Information Center page, access to the town manager's website allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of this meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting of the Lunenburg Public Library Board of Trustees is being convened by Zoom as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folk may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to communicate with each other, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourselves. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. The chair will first ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of all public commentators, I will call on each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. Finally, each vote in this meeting will be conducted by roll call. So thank you all for attending. And the first agenda item is the approval of the minutes of February 18th, which I think you all should have.
Yes.
Bob, I actually don't have anything on these.
Really?
Can I join the capitalization crew here?
Sure.
Under director's report,
Yep.
let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 7 bullets down where it says armchair travel. If you're going to capitalize armchair, shouldn't travel be capitalized too?
Because it's a program name? Sure, yeah. Thank you.
And then under Friends of LPL update, 4 bullets down. If you capitalize skate, shouldn't park be capitalized too?
Yep. Yep.
I feel
got that.
so
Thank-
included now.
Is that
Thank
Laura?
you.
Yes,
Yes.
Laura, she's a full trustee now.
Oh, my
I know.
God. So hang on. So Maya, you need to find more than 2.
Richard,
I'm falling short. I got nothing.
I would argue that neither skate nor park should be capitalized. It's just a generic skate park. It's not the Lunenburg Friends of Skaters.
I
skate park.
second Dick.
Nada.
So
No capitals.
you want me to have no caps on skate park?
No cap. No, that's the sort of general rule is unless it's a specific title or a specific like Lunenburg skate park, then it's
Okay.
generic.
And Dick, do you want to just get rid of the S and the P as well?
Park park?
Yeah. Ha, ha, ha.
That's
Okay.
My 9-year-old is in the back seat. He just says, "What?"
I do have a fundraiser, Harry, for my Kate Arc.
I'll support it.
Cookies?
Can we make a motion? To accept the minutes as amended?
I have one more minor correction, and it's the same one as last month. The second bullet point under no public comment, Harry read the requirements for either a remote meeting or for remote meetings.
Oh, I saw that and I thought, I'm not possibly going to even bring that up.
Okay. I copied it from an earlier minutes. All right. I added an A in there. So it says
Very good.
Harry read the requirements for a remote meeting.
Is that capitalized?
No.
The A or the R or the M?
What?
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? So may I please have a motion to accept these minutes as amended?
Richard Mayu, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Laura Bowson, second.
Okay, so we're going to do a roll call on the acceptance of these minutes as amended. Laura,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Maya, Maya.
Myers dropped off.
Yep, and I'm going to say yes. So it may be unanimous, or with the abstention of Maya. Okay. So the next agenda item is the director's report, Muir.
Thank you. Just going to share my screen here. If I can figure it out. For those of you who can see. Okay, so FY21 budget report, budget update. March will be the 9th month of the fiscal year. So we are 3/4 of the way through the year. And we are about 59% expended at the moment. Salaries are just about where we would expect, on schedule, with a vacancy in the staff salaries, keeping that those expenses down. Just paid a sewer bill and a water bill today, as well as some gas and electricity. So those numbers are a little lower than they would be otherwise. Everything else is about where we were last month. A little more library material expended, again, with most of our major annual renewals coming up in the next few months. Any questions there? Pretty straightforward, and we'll certainly work to be completely expended by the end of the year as planned. No updates for the FY22 budget yet. Tonight is the night the town manager is making her presentation for her preliminary budget to the finance committee, I believe. A couple staff updates. Maribeth has finally, after almost 6 months, finished the inventory project, the scanning portion of that project, and she's working on tracking down some small anomalies and little details that are not resolved. So she's done excellent work on that quite large project. Cheryl's also been doing work worthy of commendation on the newsletter. Getting that out on time each month takes a little bit of finagling, drawing in all the information from the various staff people who would like things included, and formatting and clarifying language. It's been really, really good. Last week was CW Mars Users Council. They did vote to implement a digital card service with our Evergreen ILS. So that's going to mean people can sign up for a digital option to use databases and online resources, which, that digital card would eventually be able to, if they wanted, be rolled into an actual physical card. They also voted to increase, they voted the membership fee for small libraries with populations under 10K to be 25% of the full membership fee. So that doesn't affect us anymore. We're on the way to transitioning to the full membership with our population being above that number. But I thought it was interesting. Yep, is that Kate?
Of that, can you tell us again what, I know that there was a huge leap to being full members, and were they able to take that down at all, or what are we headed for?
Sure. So they didn't change they didn't implement any tiering of the membership fees. There is a partial membership for the small libraries, which is $2,000, and the full membership fee is $8,000. For us, we'll transition over the next, I think it's 3 years, to the full membership fee. So coming up in our next assessment, we'll see a bit of a jump in the membership fee portion, and same thing for the next 2 years as well. So it gives us time to adjust, and what's going to happen, not this coming fiscal year, but the year after, the E-rate, forget if it's a credit or a discount. I think it's a federal reimbursement for broadband service. That will actually, I'm struggling to explain word this in a way that can be easily understood. So the E-rate is going to go up for FY23, which will mean our overall membership assessment will be impacted in a negative. So we'll have to pay less on that port because of that portion of the assessment. It's not going to cover $6,000 worth, but it will mitigate some of the impact of this transition that we'll be going through over the next couple of years. So small positive news with that. But we did request a higher amount in our CW Mars network budget line for next year, knowing that this was coming, and we will see if that happens to come through, but it feels like that's a distinct possibility. So that will be helpful. We've never been able to cover that whole membership assessment with that budget line. We've always supplemented that money with money usually from state aid, and we'll continue to do that. But the combination of those things will mean relatively low impact on everything else for us, hopefully, going forward.
Thank you.
Sure. Program updates.
Hey, York, excuse me, can
yes,
you tell me
sure.
to get Maya back?
Maya did join again. I believe that she is connected.
I am back.
There she
Sorry.
is. Yep.
You know, there's no cell phone signal out here where we live. So
Same
Okay.
here at my house.
yeah, good
At one
times.
bar if I'm lucky.
Hey, Maya, I'm sorry, just for the record, did you hear yet? I think you got to the point where we were voting on the minutes as amended.
Yes.
And do you want to cast your vote affirmatively or negatively to accepting the minutes as amended?
Sure. Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Very good. Thanks for asking. Program updates. We're pretty full up on programs and events coming up in the next couple months. The team, Susan, Lydia, and Debbie, have all done a lot of hard work on that. April in particular is pretty busy, including some poetry programs made possible by the Richard and Mary Ellen, or Mary Ellen and Richard Letarte Poetry Fund. Thank you to the Letartes for that. And then Spring Beanstack reading challenges as well. The adult reading challenge had 15 participants who had logged more than 3,000 minutes 2 days into the program when I wrote the report. So that's a remarkable participation to kick off the spring reading challenge. So it's great to see that continuing, that Beanstack to be a continuing asset for us. Thanks to the Friends for purchasing it. Building and maintenance update. April 1st, next week, will be the beginning of a new cleaning contractor for town facilities. So that will be interesting. We'll see how that goes. I'll give you guys an update, see if it's a positive or not. Certainly the old crew has done a great job for us at the library. No complaints about them. They're unobtrusive and did an excellent job cleaning. And we're always super friendly. So we'll kind of miss seeing them around the library, but hopefully the new crew will be good. I do have carpet tile samples in my office if anybody wants to swing by and take a peek for our recarpeting project. That likely won't be an exact match to whatever we end up with, but it'll give you a good sense of what it will look like. There's one sample that's almost an exact match too. So I don't have any concerns about there being any major differences. But if you'd like to visit, let me know, and you can come take a peek at some of the possible. There is a set of samples with, you know, that orange and that green from you know, maybe the 70s shag carpeting colors that if we really want to, we could go in that route, but I don't know that it will match the rest of the aesthetic of the building. So just, yeah, let me know if you want to swing by and take a peek. But the bid or the request for bids will be going out, probably be finished preparation early next week, and we'll go out soon after that. So we're moving forward on that. The architect's finishing that up, and next step is the next step. We'll see what kind of responses we get from that. Yeah, Harry.
Nir, does that go from us or DPW?
It's through the DPW. Assistant Town Manager Julie Bellevaux is the one kind of in charge of preparing the request for bids.
Okay.
DPW is consulted. Kit's been the one who's kind of reached out for some quotes earlier in the process, but it's a team effort, certainly, interdepartmental effort.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And yeah, so the other thing, if you guys are interested, I don't know if you've looked at it yet, but I did include the specifications for the cleaning contract in the month's folder, if you're interested, for the cleaning crew. And for your reference, there's a library section. You can check it out. It looks exhaustive, and we'll see how that goes. Technology, a couple of updates this month too. Security cameras the last 3 low res were actually upgraded, and we added 4 more cameras on the outside of the building. So far, so good. Those have been, you know, without any issues so far. And the Friends are the ones who paid for that too. So thank you, Friends, for that. And the other major piece of, I don't know that there was an upgrade, but repair, the phone system, we did get fixed. The main phone handset and equipment was replaced with a new piece of equipment, and we did add 1 phone at Maribeth's cataloging desk so that she can help answer the phones and cover curbside pickups without standing up for every phone call, which sometimes is every 3 minutes or so. So two good upgrades there. And then the buzzing, or whine or interference on our second phone line was also resolved after a couple tries with Verizon. Dan Nadarewski was great help on that. He coordinated the communication and made sure Verizon did what they were saying. If you want to call a library and call on our second line, feel free. You won't hear a buzz anymore. So staff's super happy about that. Yeah, and so the final section for this report is reopening. I anticipate some changes in the next few weeks. Town offices are moving to limited hours without appointment. They did that, I believe it was last week. We are officially in phase 4 of the reopening plan for the state. Though I have not seen any specific details on how that's going to affect offices or libraries, which would be the specific guidance we would need to really change anything for us. For boards and commissions, the town is beginning to shift to a hybrid model starting on April 6th with the select boards meeting on that day. So there'll be a component that's in person with the select select board itself being in the Bellata meeting room and still have the option to Zoom in. With the hybrid model, I don't see that affecting us because our meeting room where we would normally meet in person can't really accommodate any public. And so as long as we're still offering a remote component, we're going to be on Zoom in some capacity. So yeah, that's my report. Any questions for me?
Bureau, this is Kate. I have a question
Kate.
about what the current status is about hours that are allowed and numbers of people. So within the current practice, would it be within your jurisdiction to open more hours but still be under the 25% or the 10 people?
Yeah, I think so. My major concern with doing that would be the interest in curbside. Most of the people who want to pick materials up seem to want to do curbside still. And just like earlier in the reopening process, if we increase the time for browsing, I think we've got to decrease the time we're offering curbside pickups, which may be an intermediate step to do that. Thursday afternoons in particular, and possibly Saturday midday-ish, would be times where I think opening up further for browsing would make sense. But I do think it's with the staffing level that we're at, I think it's an either or proposition. We're either doing curbside pickups or we're doing browsing. We just don't have the staffing to do both.
Curbside pickups are so very staff consuming their time in terms of the curbside pickups?
I missed the beginning of the question. I'm sorry.
Sorry, we're making noise here. Is that partially because curbside pickups require a great deal of staff participation? So that when you said it couldn't be either or both or whatever?
Yeah. So when we're doing curbside, there are times when it's on almost constant stream of people calling. So it gets pretty busy. And so it does require oftentimes either 2 or 3 staff people to be kind of shuttling materials out or answering phones while someone is handing something off. So there is a lot of staff demand for that part of the service. We can handle kind of one or the other pretty easily. But once you start thinking about doing both at the same time, if staff is bringing something to the curb, I'm not sure that the supervision of the space inside the library can also be guaranteed at the same time.
So just a quick follow-up.
Sure, Kate, follow up.
Sorry. The quick follow-up is we had talked about this one other time or just mentioned that for some libraries, I know they have a table with pickups there and people have been coming, and I was wondering if that would just be too open to possible theft or something. I know some libraries that I visited have done that successfully, where it's there and I just picked it up. I'm just curious.
We've certainly been thinking about it. I think there's a lot of factors that would go into it. You as a former staff person in the library, you certainly understand the complexities of the whole circulation interaction. So we're considering it, I guess, is a short answer for that. I haven't completely ruled that out, but the time commitment for receiving a request to pick it up for curbside, preparing the materials, even if it's just checking them out, and putting them in a bag for someone, and making sure that it's labeled so that they know that's their bag of things, or even if you're not doing bags, a pile of things. But I think a bag is required in case, just to cover our responsibility for someone's privacy. That is one of the things we're legally required to ensure, is the
Right.
privacy of someone's borrowing habits. So all of that, whether it's happening in a batch at the beginning of a day, or on a rolling basis when someone is calling in response to something being pulled off the shelf and scanned, and the actual hold initiated, or fulfilled, I guess is the right word. They're getting the message that something's available for them to pick up. I don't think shifting that piece of the interaction of how someone's picking it up, whether it's from a table or from one of us in person, I don't think it alleviates the amount of staff input that's needed. It just kind of shifts it around a little bit. I do have it's not a trust concern, but it's a logistical concern of whether there's a system that would enable and ensure that everyone gets the materials that are already checked out to them. So part of curbside is that when they arrive in the parking lot, the material's already checked out. If we're not checking things out to them ahead of time, it creates a backlog of people waiting in the parking lot for that part of the interaction to happen, which will create lines of people waiting, which would be, I think, a negative impact on the quality of service we're providing.
Right.
And so it has to be checked out ahead of time. And if something is checked out to someone, we have to make sure that it's getting to the right person. And it's not that I wouldn't trust people to be taking their materials. It's just all of a sudden it's out of the control of the staff as to if it's waiting on a table or a book cart for someone to pick up what's been labeled with their name. There's no control. And so the accountability, if someone says, well, I never picked it up, but it was picked up by someone, there's a gap there between us being responsible for those materials and getting to where they need to be and what's actually happening. So that would be my big concern about, doing it slightly differently, if that makes sense to you.
That makes sense. Thank you, Mira, for the
Sure.
answer.
Yeah, of course.
Sure, so
Thanks
I
for
have
the
a
question.
Mira,
Harry?
this is Donna. Saya.
Okay. Yep, Donna.
Yeah, question I have about the in-person, the browsing.
Sure.
Frankly, I've avoided trying to browse because I can't remember what hours there are on what days, and it's just too complicated, and I'd prefer to get the books from the library. I've been doing it through the internet rather than and just downloading books for now, but I do miss the library. But it is very onerous to try and remember when you can go and can't go, and remember to make an appointment and get there on time and all of that. When I go to the library and browse, the interaction I have is with someone at the front desk. I don't have a lot of interaction with any of the other workers at the library during that time period that I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
How is browsing with a low number of people there impacting the ability to fulfill the orders for curbside?
So there are really 2 points of service for circulation transactions at the library: the main desk and the children's desk. And we don't have staffing in the children's room 100% of the time, even under normal circumstances, for someone to check something out. But there are times when both points are populated. So that can be up to 2 people manning those. Really, it can be 3 people because there are 2 stations at the front desk checking people out. And depending on when exactly people are finished with their browsing and they're ready to check out and leave, even with a limited number of people, it can all kind of happen at once, and it seems to tend to do that. So there are certainly periods where during a browsing block, no one is checking things out, but then 2 or 3 or 4 people finish at once. And part of, I think, the goal of the guidelines is to limit the amount of time people are spending in a location and in a relatively close quarters, like waiting in line. And so, making sure that those points are staffed would be number 1 for a browsing period. And so those people, I'd say, somewhere between 1 and 3 staff people really need to be there to be performing those transactions. There are inevitably questions and need for staff to assist patrons. Not everyone needs help, but just about whenever people are in the library, someone does need help, whether it's help on a computer, help printing, help answering a question, help finding something that they might be interested in borrowing. And so that often can be the person manning the circulation desk, but it sometimes becomes whoever is available, whether that's Lydia at her desk because there's a window and people can see her sitting there, whether that's me in my office. I've got windows and the public can see me. So, those additional staff people who might not be manning the front lines are often called to duty when the public is in the building. And then, those interactions are also just as important. One of the major reasons people come to the library is to have some help with whatever it is. And then if you're doing curbside at the same time, really you need 1 and 2 would be really nice to be doing curbside in case while someone is making a curbside handoff, the phone rings for someone else calling. The phone needs to be answered. And so that right there is somewhere, between 4 and 7 people. And that it often is more than the number of staff people in the library at a time. It's not all the time, but there are times when there are 5 of us in the building, but for the most part, it's 3 or 4. We do still have a vacancy, and that also doesn't factor in the teen room at all, which is also a kind of a secondary service point where there is a librarian on duty in kind of on deck out in public space. Again, not a space that needs to be staffed 100% of the time, but it is a place where sometimes people need assistance. So I don't, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I just, I know that there are restrictions and and these are all really good reasons for holding back, but I feel like we have opportunities to reach people to be able to reach out to the library and go to the library more easily. And I wonder that we're not taking advantage of those opportunities to serve the community better.
You're along, this is Dick, along those lines, what's the status of that vacancy? Because obviously, what we're talking about, at least partially, is, a number of hours that you don't have staff because we don't have the person. Is that going to be looked at this budget year, or does that just carry over empty until the next year?
Yeah, I'm hoping that we'll be able to begin the search soon. I need to have another conversation with the town manager about that and just finalize that. She's been working on the preliminary budget, and so I hope what I'll do is I will reach out to her and on this specific topic and see if we can move forward on that vacancy. When we discussed our budget requests, she seemed open to beginning the search to fill the vacancy this fiscal year, which would be ideal from my point of view, for sure. Yeah, and I certainly share the frustration with the limitations that we're operating within. I know that the process of signing up for an appointment is onerous, and one of the things I am considering is just having open browsing period. 10 is not the exact number that we need to limit ourselves to for the building capacity. And so I think we likely could get away without appointments. But one of the things that I'd really like to see is what the actual guidance from the state says before I make those decisions, which hopefully we'll have in hand anytime. Yes, Harry.
So I have two things, but
yes,
to
sir.
the last question about open browsing.
Yep.
I think that people would probably be receptive to if the library were to fill to whatever the number would be that would make it at capacity.
Mhm.
If I showed up to browse and someone were to say, hey, we're at capacity, can you please wait, you're next in line, as soon as someone leaves you can come in. I don't know that I would find that offensive. So I'm just pointing that out. Dick, did you, I see you're shaking your head. Did you think it was offensive? I'm not sure.
No, I'm not sure on the offensive, but it sounds like when you go to Trader Joe's, there's a person there, and lets you in as others come out. So, you might, depending on what happens, you might need a staff person, there, you might not,
Right.
the counter. I don't know. I mean, it certainly could be done. I think the thing is that at this point in time, waiting for a little more guidance from the state, as we obviously are opening. If you're going to be able to have 12% seating in the garden, then obviously we're moving there. But I think we're just as well set to go with the status quo for the time being and be aware and looking at changes coming down the road.
My second question was, and this may be the dumb question of the evening, but if I order something from certain stores for curbside pickup, when they bring out the item for me, they ask for ID. And you talking about people, the privacy and making sure that the appropriate people get the books that they have checked out.
Yeah.
How do we manage that, or do we? I'm just curious.
Well, it's how would I describe it? We don't check ID. Partially, so I think that the piece there is that with the structure that we have built into the system, you could be guessing that your neighbor has materials waiting for him or her to pick up at the library, but you'd have to be pretty lucky to manage it. So you're ordering something online, it travels through the system, transit courier delivers it, we get it and scan it, you get an email or a text or a phone call from us that there's material available. That phone call is not going to, or communication is not going to anyone except the person whose account has been used to order it. They call us and say, I just got a message, I'd like to come by in half an hour to pick it up. Is that all right? And yes, we say, of course, or no, that's our browsing period. You could come by at 2:30. And then they show up in the parking lot and say, yeah, I'm here to pick it up. My name's blank. There's certainly room in there for some fraudulent activity, but I don't think there's a whole heck of a lot. I'm feeling pretty secure that we're getting materials where they should be going with that system. Once you start putting things on the table, though, someone could walk up without having at all been involved. And not that I would expect someone in Lunenburg to be having that intention, but they certainly could pick up someone else's material. Why they would, I don't know, but that alternative has a lot more of these openings for it to get not where it's meant to go. Thank you for the questions.
So we've never had an issue, right?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. I appreciate the answer. Thanks.
Yeah.
Before we get off this, just one last comment. This is Kate.
Yep.
One thing, as it does open up and you are informed about what next, I think that one thing I've been aware of just by the people that I do contact or contact me or that I know is schools opening up and things coming back, and that the library hopefully would be in line in that we don't want to lose any public backing, trust, faith. We've had a great support and have loved it and earned it and still are every bit of the way. I just think of that as this whole complicated thing happens. There's just so many different ways that people are coming at it. You know what I mean? So that the library, as it can afford to have more hours, even if it's still very limited numbers of persons for all the reasons you just outlined, that ease and that availability, I think, is going to be really well received when that can happen.
Yeah, I do. As these things are being considered, I certainly hope that we can move to something a little less restrictive very soon. And I think hearing some of your concerns, it would kind of back up my impression that moving to a more uniform schedule of browsing, for instance, between 12 and 2, just throwing like an example out there. Doing something like that where it's the same every day, that would make, I think, a huge difference for people. It's that's the way the town hall has been. When they've been open between two set hours. Each day it's the same hours, and I think that would be one improvement that we could make, and if we can move to browsing periods without appointments, I think that also would be a next part of whatever the subsequent step is going to be for us. Again, just more of my thought process about all of this. The fewer changes we can make, the fewer times we make changes, I think is a better way of saying it, the better as far as communication, because of that confusion. So hopefully there's a next step, there's an intermediate step that we can move to with just one set of changes, and then we can follow that for a while until until the next
Right.
the next step. But instead of every week or every few days changing something and creating even more confusion, that's been a big part of trying to come up with a plan that will give us longevity instead of lots of different changes and instead of a more reflexive changing course every set period of time. So
Thank you. That makes sense.
I am hopeful that we can move forward soon.
Great. Yeah.
Muir.
Dollar.
Oh, sorry.
Is that Laura?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
I didn't know if you were done with that answer. I'm sorry.
Sure. No, go ahead. It's all yours.
Okay. Librarians as a group aren't eligible for vaccines yet, are they?
That's correct.
Has the staff expressed any concerns about increasing, the people that come in before they're eligible?
Honestly, I haven't had that exact conversation. I think, we've got several people on staff who are eligible. One of our staff at least has received both shots within the last week. The second shot was administered, and I think there's a kind of a range of feeling amongst the staff about that. We have good procedures in place that have been protecting us as a staff as we've been in the same space, and I think they're going to apply to everyone. So I think that is somewhat reassuring. But I would say librarians as a whole in the profession are a little frustrated that eligibility doesn't echo the eligibility of a retail worker, a grocery worker,
Yeah.
or a teacher, and kind of very similar dynamics to those professions for librarians. So that is, but it also echoes kind of the process through the whole reopening, the whole closure and reopening, where we didn't have library specific guidance from the state about our until phase 3, I think, if I remember correctly. But it was libraries were almost left out. Sometimes we get forgotten about, but we're certainly looking forward to seeing people again too. So it's if there is any worry, it's mixed feelings, because we would love to see people back in the library in much greater numbers. So
Are the browsers really good about wearing masks properly and stuff?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I haven't observed anyone who's had any hesitation about any of those procedures.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Any other questions before we move to the next agenda item? All right. I hear none, so I'll pass the mic back. What is the next agenda item?
No, you don't.
Me again, anyways.
It's you.
It's me again. Strategic Plan Subcommittee update. All right. So wonderful news on this. We've had we've had 3 focus group meetings that went really well. I forget the exact number. I think it was over 20 people participated in those focus groups, which is great turnout. I think we invited about 40 people. So 50% participants is great. Barbara seems to have done a wonderful job facilitating, gathered some very interesting data from those discussions. The subcommittee has gone over it with her, and are just about, as a subcommittee, we're just about finished up finalizing survey questions. So I'm revising our survey in SurveyMonkey, and I'm going to share the revisions with the subcommittee, should be tomorrow morning, and we'll look at that and see how that looks, and potentially send that out anytime in the next month or so, if that's the schedule we decide to follow. We've discussed a couple things as far as the scheduling the survey, and I don't know that we have a final answer. Maya or Laura, Dick, you can correct me if I'm wrong there, but I don't think we have a final decision on when we want to do it. Sometime soon, but not.
We had talked about various things, including having some paper copies available at town meeting for people to fill in, especially if we're doing a 10 or 15 item survey. That would be very quick. Brings to mind another thing, though. I noticed back on the budget, to backtrack, that none of the contractual money had been spent yet. Have we paid Barbara anything, or?
She hasn't invoiced me anything yet, so
Oh.
I've got her set up as a vendor in Munis, so I can, anytime she gives me an invoice, I can get her some money. I thought she said she was going to break it up into 3 chunks, but I haven't seen it, and I didn't manage to get her a call today after our meeting yesterday. So
as a participant in one of those focus groups, I would, second your thing as far as her facilitation. It was a very it was good. It had a lot of people, a lot of cross pollination and interest and people speaking. So it was definitely worthwhile. That was a very good hire.
Yeah, she's been fantastic, I would say, and we'll see as a group what the finished product looks like. But I'm excited. It's been really positive experience with Barbara so far. Such as our strategic plan subcommittee update. Next is me again, right? Trustee handbook discussion. Okay, 3 in a row. Here we go. I'm just gonna pull up the trustee handbook because I wanted to look together at one section. So our assignment for, I guess it was not really for tonight, but our plan was to discuss at our March meeting the first chapter of the trustee handbook, which is really just kind of like the intro of roles. And I thought we could, are there any questions on that section of the handbook? I think it's pretty straightforward. Obviously you guys you understand you're elected. So that, we're a municipal library. We are working on an orientation kit. I've got a lot of that in a folder on Google Drive. I think most of it went in fairly recently, so you may not have seen it. But I have almost everything. Here's our checklist for a new trustee, and I have I don't have a copy of bylaws. I did put a schedule of board meetings. We have our folders from what will be previous meetings for whenever anyone new hops on board. So that'll be readily available. I do have a copy of the current library budget. I didn't get an annual report in. No, I did include a copy of the library's annual report for FY20. Monthly reports are kind of a piece of our previous meetings. I've got a placeholder for the open meeting and conflict of interest laws, and I'll get those in soon. I have a contact sheet for all of the board members and director. Laura, if you have a chance, your information is missing from that. And if you could update it, that'd be great.
Okay.
I think everyone else has, and I guess so for everybody, if you can just verify that contact sheet is accurate for you. If you're in our LPL trustees folder, it's, I think, new member kit is the name of the folder. And so the contact sheet is in there. Just double check that information for me. I have a copy, and then I have a basic info sheet for the library, which has address, phone number, website, mission, friends of the library, names, and positions. I have staff member positions and names. That's it in the basic info sheet. I've got, on there is a link to the address for library policies on our website. A tour obviously is not something that's going to be in a Google folder. So that's just about everything on this checklist. So we're in pretty good shape. If there's anything not on the checklist that you think might be useful to include, I can endeavor to do so. Just let me know. Laura, your input on that in particular would be valuable. You're the newest trustee, so anything you thought.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, anything you thought you can think of that you wanted as you've been adjusting, just let me know and we can see what we can do. Harry.
You're not related to this specifically, but as you were talking about trustees being elected, firstly, I want to thank Dick for going to caucus and handling the nominations. And then it just occurred to me, have the 3 people who were nominated made it to town hall yet to sign? And when does that need to be done?
The deadline is already passed, I believe. I went sometime in the past week.
Okay. So
The deadline was Friday, last Friday.
So did everybody get?
I went to.
I think that was affirmative.
Yeah, I did.
So there was what, Maya, Bob, and Laura, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I didn't hear Laura's comment, but I guess we're all good.
I went.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just trying to dot I's.
Thank you guys for doing that.
I'm
Looking
sorry.
forward. I said thank you guys for doing that. So
The golden rules.
the golden rules, yeah. I think we talked about that when we looked at the trustee handbook, or trustee, is that what it's called? Trustee guide. Very similar to what we looked at then.
Pocket guide.
Right, pocket guide, right. These are like a list of descriptors for you guys for sure. Scrolling. Yeah, so I think they outline kind of 6 basic areas of responsibilities for trustees, and then they kind of describe the relationships for each of those areas of what the trustee board might do and what the library director do and what we all do together. And this section, I think, is probably, from my point of view, the most important part of this chapter. Clarity of our roles, I think, is really useful, and as I was going over it to prepare, again, we go pretty much by the handbook here, guys. You guys are a fantastic example of what's described here. We've got pretty clear roles, and you guys work hard on what ends up being your responsibilities. So I don't feel like we need to read it to each other, but I do think it's worth noting that these responsibilities all seem like things that are on your radar as a group, and that's very refreshing and nice. So any questions or comments about the first chapter of the handbook? If not, my plan would be to go over the second chapter at our next meeting. So if you guys can read chapter 2 by then, and if you snuck by without actually reading chapter 1 tonight, read chapter 1 too. Not that I would suspect any of you doing that, but so we'll kind of go over any questions or concerns that you have for chapters 1 and chapters 2 next month on this. Chapter 2 is, let me remember, organization. So bylaws might be something in particular to pay attention to. I'm not sure that we have a copy of our bylaws, which I assume.
I have tried back for a long time, including going through Kathy Herrick at one point, looking in the records to see, and all the way back to, God, my first service round at the Ritter. I really don't remember any. At one point, one of our members on a previous board had provided a sample from another library, another board of trustees, and this is something probably more going into next year that we really need to put on the agenda and have a subcommittee or whatever form, so that we could, get. I'm sure there are sample. The board of library commissioners must have sample copies, and basically it's, just cut and paste what applies and how we do things.
Yep.
But it's really something that we are lacking.
Yep. And I think that's a great suggestion to put it onto our FY22 agenda. What's that?
I think we just put it on our newest member.
The pressure's on.
Yeah, okay.
And before Dick spoke, I was going to offer to do it, but now Laura's been volunteered for me, so Laura can take care of preparing the bylaws. No, but I'd be happy to work with Laura to come up with.
That was a complete. I don't want to be accused of appointing Laura. So
whoever it ends up being, I'd be happy to help prepare that.
Muir, it does say right on that page you have displayed there that there's sample bylaws
Samples
available.
Yeah, I didn't want to draw attention to that, and but yes, the MBLC definitely has samples, and I would say it's almost even more valuable to use the listserv for instance, CWMAR's directors listserv to ask other directors who have recently updated their trustee bylaws to send theirs as a sample and work from that. But we can go both directions, so we'll have plenty of resources to work on this.
In your spare time, you can get those get that email out, because you have access to the listserv, and just if they send some, then we can go from there.
Yep, in my spare time, right?
Yeah, I'd be happy to work on the bylaws.
Great, sounds good to me. So
Dick.
Was that another question? I didn't hear.
Oh, that was me thanking Dick for volunteering.
Okay. Great.
So I think we're on the next agenda item, which I can't pick up because I wasn't at that meeting. The Friends update.
Friends update. I think a big chunk of that meeting was with Anthony Cayuzo and the skate park nonprofit group proposing a joint fundraiser to the Friends of the Library. The Friends seemed pretty receptive to that. The one kind of specific idea that Anthony brought was something that Lydia and someone else, I forget who, had investigated in the past as a potential fundraiser for the Friends, and it seemed like that might be a road that they committed to investigating that partnership on mini golf in the library, basically, would be the fundraiser. So I think it has some potential. Who knows if it'll grow legs and get done, but at this point, it looks like that partnership might develop in the future.
A lot of that discussion had to do with the practicalities and whether you went with a company or you did it yourself. There were some people that had some experience, and also timing, and given whatever the COVID protocols are, by the time you actually do it. So I think it's going to be a thing that will be in process, but I don't think it's going to be anything that will be too soon.
Yeah, and I think Anthony had relatively soon or next fall into winter as times that would work for his group. And with the carpeting project happening at some point for the library, I was very uncomfortable planning anything in the spring that was going to be inside the library until we more specifically know a date for the recarpeting, because that obviously is going to take precedence.
Is that spring 21?
Yep. So the carpeting will be happening sometime before the end of this fiscal year.
So they wanted to do the fundraiser in the library?
Yes. Yeah, the idea is a mini golf course in the library with holes and sponsors for each hole, which is where the money comes from. So, you know, a big part of it would be, you know, on the ground selling sponsorships for the various holes.
And they never discussed doing it outside? Do you recall?
I think that kind of loses the library part of it when you're not doing the mini golf with the books.
It's actually a program, and there are a couple of companies that do this, and they come in and they are responsible soup to nuts. You provide the space, you get the sponsors, you do all that stuff. You get the Lions Club in the Wallace Room selling food, you do all of that stuff, but they come in and they set it up, and it's, you know, obviously just they design where it's going to go, and then it becomes like an indoor mini golf experience, you know, and you have a hole down the, you know, down through the stacks, and, you know, I don't know, I think it has the potential to be fun. And the thing is that, again, the library people, maybe some help with the young people with the skate park to set it up and tear it down. But, you know, they come in, it's done, and they collect a fee and you get the money. So
Who knew?
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't think there's really a lot of other, there was more discussion, but
it was a long time ago.
There was a discussion, if I read correctly, about revising the Friends page on Facebook.
Yeah. Sue Ahern has volunteered to create a Facebook page for the Friends, which and Robin has kind of revised, I guess is the right term, for the information for the website about the Friends, but without major changes, just kind of an updating of that. And that's those two pieces of the project are their objectives for the near future. Sue won't be able to do anything until later in the spring because of her work, but those are the kind of the next steps for their digital presence.
Okay.
Yeah. But thank you in general for the Friends of the Library for fantastic support. They've been, over the last few months, they have increased our budget lines for virtual programs and supplies for programs, and it's been really, really important that's happened for our ability to provide programming.
Okay, thank you, Muir.
Thank you.
Do we have any board comments?
Building on the thing on programs, kudos to the new Lydia regarding the movie discussion group. The last month that it exploded, I think there were, I don't know, half dozen or 8 or whatever it was, and it was very, very good. The other thing is I tuned in yesterday or last night on the program from Bigelow Library with the armchair travels, the local, last night's was the national, they're not, well, national parks in Massachusetts. And there were like 16 national parks, not like Yosemite or whatever, but the National Historical Park, et cetera. And some of them were, I had no idea that there was, you know, there really some good stuff. And I guess it's like once a month he's doing
Once
it.
a week, I think, for the next 6 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
you,
it's,
you all have
and-
another opportunity very soon for some armchair travel.
And they're also on, evidently Bigelow Library has a YouTube page, and those are on YouTube as well. So highly recommended. But it was nice, and I think there were 57, 58 people. So
Good turnout.
good turnout. Very, very nice to have that.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that.
Are there other board comments? So no other board comments. Any public comment or other business? Okay, I don't think that there is. So it's 8:18 now. So I would like to take a roll call vote to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, thank
We
you.
haven't get a motion yet.
Yeah, sorry, you're exactly right. So may I have a second to do that, please?
Kate, I second.
All right, so we have a motion to adjourn at 8:18. Laura,
Kate had to swallow her wine first.
I'm sorry.
Kate had to swallow her mouthful of wine before she could second.
Oh, that was
So
funny.
true.
All right, good job, Muir.
Take a bite of the cookie.
I'll get you guys.
Okay, so now it's still 8:18. Wow. So Laura,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Dick,
Absolutely.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Maya,
Yes.
and I say yes. So it's 8:19. Thank you all very, very much for participating. I'm sorry about the difficulty in getting this meeting started.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Thanks.
Oh,
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.